Why do I like Nas? Because Nas does it the way he calls himself. He's a king of rap because his rhymes are as tight as anything else. And DJ Champs, today we said we are unpackaging and bringing the best lyrics and the best hip hop that people could hear. And of course, you've had Jay-Z, we have Nas, we've played Mr. Chicks, we've played, of course, DMX with his growl sound and all that kind of rap. Now, last week we talked about Jew and Jah, and I've just decided every week I'll be giving you a story of some of the most funny names that came into this republic. The first one is Juja, and I said Juja. Remember that the gentleman who started Juja Farm, I call him the guy who is called Macmillan. He was called William Northup Macmillan. He arrived in Kenya in 1904, age 32. He was an American, by the way. If you go to Macmillan Library, or if you go to Macmillan Castle in Chiromo, Chiromo University, there you'll find Macmillan Castle. This guy weighed 136 kilos. He was a huge guy. He was a soldier, 136 kgs. And also, his waist was around 45 centimeters. So he was a huge guy with a large gut. So, and when he left Benin to come to Kenya, he was the American. His father and mother had migrated from Scotland to the US, and he was an American citizen, and that's why we say that he was an American. So when he came to Kenya, he had come and was given two statutes from Benin, Jew, and the other one was known as Jah. And he was told if to carry the two statutes, because, you know, Benin is the headquarters of Juju, my friends. So he was told if he does not carry those two sculptures, he will perish in the sea. So when he carried the two things, the two sculptures of ancient art, and reached Nairobi. When he was going to buy Ndarugu Plains, what we call today Juja or Juja Farm, he knew that to protect himself, superstitions, I tell you, even Mzungus have superstitions. He decided to bury Jew and Jah at the gate of the entrance of Juja Farm. So that's how people started calling. They joined the two and called it Juja Farm, Jew and Jah, the two paintings. So it became Juja Farm. So Macmillan, of course, died because he was a heavy guy. He was 136 kg. That's a big man. And the wife really built Macmillan Library in his honor. And if you go to Macmillan history, you know that is in his honor. And then the next interesting story is that away from Juja, which comes from Jew and Jah, the two Benin Juju paintings, there's Karatina. The most talked about is Karatina. And people do say that Karatina comes from Muratina. I don't know if you come from Muratina or Karatina. You come from Karatina. But I want us to set this record straight, that Karatina does not necessarily come from Muratina. Karatina comes from quarantine. Karatina was a market where all the animals, the African cattle, was brought for slaughter in the abattoir there. But they had to be checked for foot and mouth disease. So they were quarantined in a certain area in where we call Karatina today. But I've heard many people saying it's because of the Spanish flu of 1918, which I think it is not also correct. I think Karatina comes from quarantine, where the cattle were quarantined before being taken to the abattoir for slaughter. So it's interesting to see how African names have been changed. Of course, you know, Nyeri is not a Kiambu name. It's not a Kikuyu name. It's a Maasai name. You know, Nairobi, of course, is a Maasai name. And, you know, of course, Murang'a was known as Fort Hall before it became to Murang'a. And there are many other places which, and the most interesting in Luo Nyanza is Rodi Kopany. The gentlemen from Rodi Kopany say Rodi Kopany, and it's actually road company. I don't know. Do you know any place? Timboroa? What's the meaning of Timboroa? Please let us know if you know the meaning of the places where you come from and what was their original names. I've just told you Ju, Ja comes from Ju and Ja. Karatina comes from quarantine, cattle quarantine, and not Spanish flu quarantine as it has been alleged before. Or Moratina, my friends from Karatina. You can say, or you can tell me whether I'm right, but I know the correct one is it was a market for animals, for cattle, so it's quarantine. And cattle were quarantined before taken to abattoir in Karatina, the present day Karatina. And of course, we've talked about there's Timbaroa, I've talked about Road Kopany, and then there's something called Ochotodong. If you know what Ochotodong means, or Ochotodong, you know, the people in Luo, Ochot Odong, the Luo language is Tono, is like the most Sudanic languages. They are Tono, they are not otherwise, they are Tono. So you tell us, what do you think about this? Whether Ochot Odong is part of your village. Are you coming from Ochot Odong? Of course, it's a Spice FM 94.4. So we bring you only cool vibes, only interesting topics, interesting stories in between the best mix of music. And of course, we tell you about of hip-hop music. Of course, the beef between, when I was listening to Nas and remember their beef with Jay-Z. And maybe one day we will, DJ Cham, one day we will just play the beef season and who won the best beef song between of course my Nas and of course Ja Rule, and of course my favorite artist of all time, Shakur Tupac with Biggie. And then there was also, I like Eminem when he was talking their beef with Ja Rule, and of course Eminem and their beef with some Johnny Come Latelys in hip-hop industry. Beef actually makes music grow. And of course, tell us who's your favorite artist is. For me, Tupac any day. Number 2, you get for me the guy known as Nas. Number 3, you get for me Jay-Z. And of course, Snoop Dogg in the 4th position. 5th, the Dre, all day, every day. And then you can get me Ice Cube there. You can get for me some Warren G. You can get me at the East Coast, where the West Coast team was something else. And then in NWA. So tell us, who is your favorite trap artist from your end? And who do you think? And also tell us where you come from. What is the best? Where is the name? What's the name of your village? And where did it come from? Are you from Juja? Did it come from Ju and Ja? Are you from Timboroa? Are you from Nakuru? Let's have this discussion. It's Spice FM 94.4, and we give you only good vibes, cool vibes, interesting music, and unfiltered conversation. I'm your host, CEOCharlesOtieno. Every day, every single day in the afternoon is a Spice Drive. When we come back with news and, of course, the traffic update. So fasten your seatbelts. It's our show. It's your show. Keep listening.